Cryptozoology is, by its very nature, elusive. Thus, we cannot say that we are exactly bringing you the facts, but we will do our best to help you see these mythical legends as we do. So sit back, relax, and wait. What's that behind you? Never mind. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome back to a Halloween special of Cryptids on Cryptids, a folklore podcast.
Damn, your spooky voice is good. I'm jealous. Damn. Oh, damn. I can't even do like the horror movie Scream that I feel like I'm supposed to be able to do. The best I get to spooky is like general mayhem.
It's just the general chaos that is my life.
Just
Yeah, no,
the aura I give off when I get near people and they get nervous via proxy.
Yeah, it's spooky season, and this is a Halloween special. So what are we talking about on this cool, dreary Sunday morning?
This is cool.
This is a Sunday morning, actually. A morning record. We don't usually do this.
Yeah, we don't, but I think you've got obligations later in the day, so we bumped it up. So I got morning voice, boy.
Yeah. It's
Rip.
all so exciting.
It's also exciting. I am excited to be here. I've just had a cup of coffee and I'm raring to go. We're doing witches this week.
Witches?
Witches. Specifically the Western interpretation of witches, because there are many, and the older interpretation of witches, because there are modern day witches. This is not about them. This is about specifically medieval era witches and the wild bonkers shit that went on with them.
All right. Before we get into it, hear me out.
Sure.
Ah, witchcraft! Is that good?
Yes.
No, my audio didn't like that, actually.
Oh no, because I was like, if every time I say witchcraft,
witchcraft!
just do that, I think we'd have a pretty damn good episode. Okay, so for the comfort of those at home, I feel like I'm gonna go over a quick definition of what a witch is, and then we'll hop into some absolutely bonkers shit.
Yeah, I feel like a
so-
lot of shit was bonkers in medieval times, and I'm excited to get into this, actually.
I had a fun time researching this. I did the research of this while I was at work, actually. And so,
Oh?
yeah, or at least a bit of this I was doing it at work because I work at a like something akin to a bookstore, I guess. But long story short, there's a lot of people in there who know a lot about like witches. And so I was doing the research. I left the tab open on my laptop, and then someone came up and just started talking to me about it. And so I got a lot of cool info from them. That was
That's
neat.
fun. I love
Had a good
that.
time with that. Yeah, it was really cool. She came over and she was like, "Hey, are you interested in this?" And I was like, yeah." And she's like, "Oh, cool. Like, here's a ton of cool facts about this." I was like, "That's super neat." So shout out to her. She's probably not listening, but I really do appreciate that. That was great. I don't know if I can say your name legally, but
Yeah, no, probably
not
just
on that
leave
one.
it. Yeah, probably
Yeah.
just leave it.
But thanks. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it was. She also asked me how many like we sell small packages of dice just like as a thing that people can buy. And she asked how many D20s she could buy before I would stop her. Uh, so
Man, honestly, I'm not gonna stop. Like, if I'm at a place selling dice, and you're like, give me a bunch of fucking D20s, I'm not gonna stop you.
I'm not gonna stop you.
Because
I literally
fuck
am
me.
not.
I want to do that too.
Shit.
I understand. I want to be there. I want to go on this journey with you.
The biggest concern I think I ever got was somebody who came in and purchased, I think, at least 50 D10s. Specifically, they wanted D10s. And this is the point where you're probably thinking, oh, they're playing Warhammer. This isn't a concern. They also bought a monster manual And I looked at them, and they looked at me, and they just pushed it towards me and said, I really want them dead. And I'm assuming they meant their players, and I'm
Oh my
afraid for
god.
them.
Oh my god.
I get a lot of people who come in and like purchase just absolutely like miniatures are the most common because D&D people love to talk. Uh and so if I ask them what the miniature is like going to be used for, they will tell me. Which means that I had somebody come in and buy like a Drow Warlock mini, and he was so excited to just absolutely wreck his player's shit. And I fear for them, but I root for him.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck.
Good luck.
Now,
But
D&D is sort of like witchcraft, but I
uh
would really
that was a scandal that happened in the 80s and it was wild.
wow, I don't even I'm not even that well versed on that. I actually don't know what the fuck that is.
Oh,
And maybe we'll talk about it on a later episode.
the
But
80s
right
or
now, yeah, the 80s just in general.
just in general? I was like, I guess we could talk about the folklore of the 80s, but I feel like it would
Yeah,
be a little
probably.
wild.
Probably not.
Probably
Um,
not.
I want to hear all about witches.
I'd love to. So
What is a
basically,
witch? First off, because
sure.
there's a lot of conflicting, let's say, definitions.
Yeah, the one I'm going with, the one that is the most, I say common, but it's like the one that's the most modern, is a non gender specific spellcaster who is usually depicted as a woman. They are most akin to magic doctors. People will tell you that warlock is the male equivalent, but I think gender's a scam, so and a warlock is something completely different anyway, so like fuck it. Uh,
Mm.
but I think at one point the Scots specifically tried to sell a warlock as the male equivalent of a witch, but a witch is just anyone who practices magic that is something more akin to like a doctor. And I say a doctor because with spells for witches specifically, they have a goal on like acting on other people, if that makes sense, or themselves, depending.
Mm-hmm.
But like a witch can uh like have spell casting that includes like potions or crystals or runes or talismans or any sort of combination of those items and have a result occur on them or someone else that is either positive or negative depending on the witch and also the spell. Uh, so basically, doctors weren't super great in this time period. I am specifically thinking medieval Europe, so you can make some assumptions on bloodletting and we'll move on. Uh,
Yeah, no, it's that's one of the few subjects I do feel qualified to talk about. And let me just say, they didn't know shit.
they sure fucking didn't, dude. Damn.
Didn't know shit. They were like, hmm, maybe you got too much blood in you.
We'll just fix that, I guess.
Or maybe you don't have enough mucus.
Uh oh. I don't like where that's going.
Yeah, no, it was gross.
I don't like that at all, thank you.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's, medieval doctors are almost scarier than anything else we've talked about on this show.
I. No. Any type of, like, doctor. I don't. Okay. Doctors in the modern era, I am okay with, for the most part. Anytime you go back to, like, here's a slightly older doc, I don't trust him. I do not, because like I think we've discussed this in a previous episode that I study neuroscience, which means I have to go back in and like acknowledge the fact that lobotomies were a clear and present danger to people at one point in
Clear and
time.
present, not health as they saw them, but definitely a danger,
That's a
as
danger.
we know. A
Yeah,
fact.
because they would just like take people and be like, "Hey, you're sad sometimes. We're just gonna lop your brain in half." And I'm like, "Bro, I don't think."
We're just gonna get in there and scramble it like an egg.
I just it makes me ill and like weak in my knees. I don't. Ugh.
Yeah,
Ugh.
I'm gonna be honest, don't trust all modern doctors. One time I talked to a pre med who was he was working on his first like dissections and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
asked
yeah.
him how like he felt about it, and he told me it made him hungry, and that's
Uh-oh.
worrying.
Uh-oh. That's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
That's a lot to unpack.
Now I'm not
Ooh.
saying don't trust all doctors. It just hmm,
Don't trust that one, huh?
just don't trust that one.
That one's not. He's a pre-med, though. You can just put him somewhere that's not doctor and just say he's a specialist in getting hungry at weird things.
I don't even think like here's the weird thing is I don't
Yeah.
even think it was like the meat association. I think he was just talking about how like it's a lot of work and so it made him hungry.
Oh my god. That's
I
almost.
how do you become so desensitized to literally cutting open a human body?
Well, okay. I have been in a room when an autopsy was being done. It is very fascinating. I will be real. I think it's really neat. Uh,
Oh, it's definitely interesting. Like don't get me wrong. I definitely think like all the bio and chemistry of the body is really interesting
I
in
think the
theory.
smell is just the bit that gets you. Because it really does just smell like formaldehyde all the time in everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which isn't super conducive to hungry, but the one time I did, like, walk into a morgue, uh, they did have, like, at the front desk, a teddy bear shaped thing of animal crackers, like the frosted animal crackers with the sprinkles. And they did offer me some before I, like, went in to go witness this autopsy. So,
How thoughtful.
I guess it's like different people fit in different situations. I'm pretty sure there's an expression for that, but I think it's weird, so I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah, you
Uh,
know what? You if you need the animal crackers, you take them. I'm
you
not
take
gonna
them.
judge you. I'm. That's not what I'm here for. I'm apparently here to witness an autopsy.
Yeah.
Man, you ever
Uh,
think about that in like,
mm,
even up into like Civil War times? They were just like watching people get
hacked.
quote unquote doctored.
Uh oh.
I
That's the
mean,
thing. Like, people oftentimes talk about how women needed like fainting couches and things after seeing medical procedures, and they at the time were like, oh, they just think it's so gross and they can't handle it and all of that. But I'm realizing now that like the level of empathy that I have, if I had to witness one of these, I think I'd just die. Like,
yeah. I mean, there was this one doctor,
mm,
um, back in like I think it was a little more closer to the Civil War
yeah.
era, um, but he was like known as a showman,
What the
and
fuck? You're a
he,
doctor.
yeah. Well, here's the thing. So he was really good at amputating legs,
Uh oh.
right? And they called him the fastest knife in the West.
No! That's not something you should be proud of, because if you're going that fast, you're not checking if it's the right fucking leg, dipshit. Did this
Well,
happen? Uh oh.
no,
No.
that had happened before, so now they label all the legs, right? Um,
Oh,
that's why if you
fuck.
get an autopsy or not an autopsy, if you're having an
Autopsy if you're
autopsy, you're
alive.
already fucked. But if you're having an amputation, they do like write on your arm like this one and not this one, and
Yeah.
it's it's great. Um,
I have absolute faith in.
but this guy was going so fast that he got this guy's leg off in record time, but also got an assistant's thumb, and one of the people watching died of shock. The person who he was cutting their leg off also died of sepsis, and the person whose thumb he got also died of sepsis, making it the only surgery in
With the
history
300
to have a
mortality rate.
300% mortality rate.
Oh, fuck. That's so bad.
I strongly suggest you look into this. It's quite the fucking tale.
Imagine being the only one to walk out of a room alive. There were three people in him, and one of them wasn't even doing surgery. He was just a dude watching.
Well, there were several people watching because apparently he was, as I mentioned earlier, quite the showman.
Yeah, no, I don't want people watching my surgery. I feel like that's weird.
Anyway, yeah, he got the leg off in record time.
I don't want to know how fast he got the leg off.
I don't know how fast it was, but a concerningly fast time is what I would say.
Well, if someone died of sepsis, I'm assuming proper cleaning techniques were not taken into account.
I don't think soap had been invented yet.
Oh, God. No, this is probably why witches were as feared as they were, because they were basically people who understood a little bit about natural medicine. And
Hmm.
the law tended not to like that because it took business away from the people who they were trying to, like, get
Direct
in
business
business.
to
If that makes
business.
sense? Yeah. So basically, the concept of magic is ubiquitous entirely. Like, it spans almost every culture, almost every time period. So I cannot really find a start date to witches.
Hmm.
It's just old. Because when they weren't being called witches, they were like a wise man or a wise woman or any combination of just person who knows more than the average bear.
Or like freak in the woods, or
They're just, yeah, vibing.
that's
Occupation,
that's
vibing.
Margaret. She never married. She has 12 cats, and she does science magic.
Yeah. So, okay. You and I have a Western interpretation of a lot of the folklore that we talk about.
Hmm.
So that means our interpretation is very heavily colored by the church, full caps.
Hmm.
So basically, what would happen is they have a very strong belief that the church is good and magic is bad because magic is witchcraft and witchcraft is Satanism. Uh,
Yeah.
okay. So basically, there was a period of time in which a lot of European countries decided that they wanted more than their European countries, and there was a period of colonialism, and a bunch of terrible things happened. But among those things was the serious amount of missionary activism that sort of went into their conquests, I guess, is a way to put it.
Yeah, activism is a strange choice of words, I feel.
I say activism because they were active, and that they had a lot of people doing it.
You know what? That's fair.
There was just a lot of people, a lot of fucking things, all at once. Because basically, any time that they would send like a military battalion, they would have at least one preacher, bishop, religious person with them, whose sole purpose was to convert as many people as possible. Or basically, what happened was scare the hell out of them.
Yeah, this
Uh,
is the like savior thesis, right?
yes,
Like
this is that.
the we're coming to save your souls because you are not Christian, and apparently, if you're not Christian, you go to hell.
Yeah, but if I could
So
get into, I could get into it, but I'm not
we're
gonna.
we're
Uh,
coming to save your soul. I feel like that's like the hard sell.
yeah, but this would mean that they were going into cultures who already had like practicing variants of witches who would function as like the village, like their sort of their doctor of
Can I
sense.
ask you something?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you think missionaries were like the equivalent of like a door-to-door salesman back in the day?
I imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah, they just go door to door. They're like, "Can I interest you in this book? It's the good one."
I'm pretty sure that's just what the Church of Latter Day Saints does now.
You know what? That's true, but I think it's less ubiquitous to the point where we know the difference between a door to door salesman and a missionary coming to our home.
Is a door-to-door salesman still a thing? I'm asking this as a legitimate question to you. Do those still exist?
I don't know. Now, here's one thing that I do know is one time my professor told me I used to be a door to door vacuum salesman. And I was like,
What does that mean?
I don't know. I was like, in this year of our Lord 2020? And he was like, no, obviously not. Because he's a professor now,
Yeah.
obviously.
I mean, he could have a side hustle. You don't know. No
Yeah,
judgment.
maybe he's still selling those vacuums. He just didn't want me to know and encroach on his turf.
His vacuum turf that he's selling the. You know what? I'm not gonna finish that statement.
He's selling the sook.
I was gonna say that, and I didn't wanna. Because
um,
he is your professor and a man of academics.
no, he's not my professor anymore. He moved to a different school, so it's fine.
Uh,
Um, anyway, yeah, exciting. I don't know. I literally do not know if a door to door salesman is still a thing because apparently within his lifetime, but also he's like 40 something.
oh shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
That,
Before our time, I guess.
yeah, yeah. That
Probably
does weird me
replaced by
out.
telemarketers.
I would say telemarketers or Amazon would be would be the two that I feel like would have replaced that void. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. This is a weird statement that I feel like we should make as we're talking about time. Uh, I met a 10-year-old child the other day, and they were born in 2010. Do you know how much that weirds me out? A lot.
Yeah,
Uh,
2010 was like a time that I remember and I was there for.
yeah. I was conscious and a hazard to myself and others, but I
Yeah.
remember it.
This is before I started listening to music, so I
Wait,
mean,
what? What?
popular culture music.
Oh. I was like, no, unpack that. You just didn't listen to music until you were 10?
Well, until I was like 10-ish, my only source of music was the bus ride to and from school, where my bus driver listened to the radio, and a lot of what they played was 3 Days Grace on the
No.
specific channel that they were listening to. Um, so yeah, my first introduction to popular culture music was 3 Days Grace and their lovely song, Riot.
Incredible.
Um, and then my other introduction to music was my dad's playlists, which consisted of rock out of the 70s
Nice, 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 nice.
and classical music.
Actually, that's so my
Until I
parents.
was 10.
Oh fuck. Yeah, I'm realizing this now. I started because I started playing piano when I was very, very little. I think I was like 3 or 4 when I started to play. So my mom would play classical music around the house. There would be like all types of music from like every sort of like because we watch Disney movies, you know. So we
Mm-hmm.
would put on the Disney Channel and we would listen to like our Disney Channel radio, I guess is what they called it, because we weren't allowed to watch the Disney Channel on TV, but we could listen to Disney Channel on the radio. Um, you can sort that out however you'd like. But long story short, I had a tiny little like child-sized boombox that had itty bitty cassette tapes that you popped into it, and it would play music from The Lion King.
Oh, that's cool. Lion
Uh,
King's got one of the better soundtracks of the Disney flicks.
it sure does. The Lion King is probably like one of my favorite Disney movies. Uh, just probably because of that, but also, uh, I broke the cassette tape because apparently if you listen to a cassette so many times you can wear it out entirely, and that is exactly what I did. uh
That 10-year-old child will never know what a cassette tape was.
I was like I wasn't even in preschool yet when I was listening to cassette tapes.
I
I was
know.
like,
I mean,
yeah,
I
because then
my dad had a flip phone. I remember when he upgraded to an iPhone. He didn't trust him until the iPhone 3.
I had the iPhone 4S when it came out. I remember that because I had asked for a flip phone because I was like, I thought flip phones were cool. I thought they made me look like a business person. And my dad was like, that is horribly impractical. Here, just take this. Uh,
Yeah,
which
no.
was
My
very
parents
nice.
made me be responsible for a flip phone um, for a year and a half before they decided that it was cool to just give me and my brother, who had never been responsible for anything, an iPhone 4.
Wild.
Yeah, no, they made me do 2 years of it, but him, nah, he's fine.
No, I think both of my brother and I. got phones when we started middle school, was how it shook out.
Mm,
Because
makes
when
sense.
it came to elementary school, we had just ridden the bus to school, you know. Or with elementary school, we had been driven because we
Yeah.
lived down the street from my elementary school. We could just walk, you know.
Yep.
But then we moved, and the bus, like, we had to take the bus to the middle school. So
Mm-hmm.
my mom did not trust the bus system at all. So she gave us phones, especially because I was doing after school activities and I needed to have a way to let her know to come get me when I was done because I wasn't taking the bus. So she's like, "Here, have this. Contact me for emergencies and all of that." Uh,
Yeah.
but I remember when I got it, all of my friends were so excited because I had like pocket access to the internet. Uh,
Yeah.
and
That was
so
huge back then.
that was huge. That was such a big deal because it meant that I could like look at predating memes, like ancient memes and things like that.
Oh my god.
And I
Fuck,
remember
dude. I had such a weird. I memes are weird. The history is out there.
it sure is. The main thing I remember though is that my friends wanted me to get like they would take advantage of the fact that I knew nothing about the internet until I got a phone and then I had unfettered access. So I went from knowing nothing to being terrified of like learning anything at all. Because the internet was very much like the wild wild west and I did not trust it. I
Yeah.
still don't actually, to be fair, but like
Speaking of the Wild Wild West, because witches were kind of like a thing, do you think there were witch cowboys?
100%. I mean,
Oh, fuck yeah.
cowboys are just the daytime version of witches, to be fair. You know?
Are they? Because I don't
Yeah.
know that they practice like
They
any
practice a
sort of
lot
medicine.
of
I
superstition.
That's true. They do got the superstition.
They got the superstition. They got
Superstition, big hat, horse, and a gun, and that you got yourself a cowboy.
you got superstition. You got a big hat. Witches have big hats. You got
Oh
an
my god,
animal
that's so
companion.
true.
Witches
And
have black cats. Horses have cowboys. Or
yeah, no,
cowboys
the
have
horses are
horses.
the witches. Actually, hold on, hold on. I think we're getting somewhere because
oh,
this
I
is
fucked.
great.
I fucked that up. No,
This
go
is so
back.
great.
Go
No,
back.
I want to talk about the concept that horses actually are witches
That would explain
because
why they look the way they do.
yeah, that would explain why they do look like that. Have you ever seen a horse skull? Ugh, ooh, heebie-jeebies every time.
Yeah,
Um,
I've seen a horse skull.
heebie-jeebies
What?
every time. They got like a pincer mouth. It's weird. Um,
Well, I
show horses
never
that.
would
It's
have
terrible.
akined horses to a pincer mouth had you not just said that.
I mean, look at them. How could you not think that?
I mean, we both grew up around horses. Why are you. I
It's
mean, I'm
just the
not.
skulls that give me the heebie-jeebies. But
It's
now I'm
just the
gonna be
skulls.
more cautious about horses in general. Now that I've learned that they are in fact witches.
Uh, I
Oh
think
my god.
the only
Wait,
thing.
actually, let's think about this because they run at natural speeds, right?
Okay. I'm listening. Continue. Go on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They live isolated from society,
They tend to live in herds, but in their isolated herds, yeah.
away
Yeah.
from human society.
Yes, that's a better one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they live in like rural country,
Yeah.
you know.
And like Lord knows Midwest Gothic is a thing, so maybe they're taking advantage of that.
Midwestern Gothic fucks. Anyway,
It
they
does.
also know a lot about plants. In fact, that's all they eat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't horses technically let me check that really quick. Continue, but I'm checking something.
Are you checking to see if a horse is an omnivore?
Yeah.
Oh my god! Imagine if a horse was like a predator animal. That'd be terrifying.
Okay. I feel like I should have it's probably a dumb thing for me to check if horses are
It's a concern now that you bring it up. Um, but yeah, they
okay.
know a lot about plants, and they just got that like something in their eyes, you know.
They I think the thing that horses have that concerns me the most is the fact that they have fear in their eyes at all times. They do not know what is happening, but they are ready
They
to bolt
do.
at the shortest given opportunity.
I'm gonna argue that they do know what's happening, right? Because they are a witch.
They know
They
what's
just,
happening and they're afraid of it, or they can
yeah,
see
they're
everything
afraid
happening at
because they don't
once.
want to get recognized. And now that we've called them out, I'm sure that all horses will get up, walk on two legs away from the farms, and disappear into the woods.
That is a horrifying image. Um,
Happy Halloween!
well, that would kind of explain the headless horseman now, wouldn't it, if horses were witches?
Now, do you think the headless horseman is a headless man on a horse,
A horse controlling a headless man puppet.
or is
Or,
it a horseman without a head?
it's unfortunate any of those ways. But this is an episode about witches.
About witchcraft. We did get sidetracked talking about how
A
I didn't
lot of
know
things.
anything about music until I was 10 years old. Can I just say something? I still remember the channel we used to listen to. It's actually discontinued now.
Oh,
But,
shit.
yeah, it was W. Bach, Maine's Classical Network. And that was what we listened to all the classical music on.
Nice.
Anyway,
Nice.
back to witches.
Back to witches. I think we left off at around the missionary activity, yeah?
Yeah.
So,
That was another thing I wanted to ask.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think they were classified as witches because there wasn't really another term for it?
Yes, there's also a bit of that, because a lot of cultures had, like, practicing variants of witches, I guess would be a way to put it, where,
Mm-hmm.
like, you had, like, the community wise men, or, like, a variation. There's tons of, like, I guess, wiggle room, which is a very blanket category, and there are much more specific, like, individual classifications for the person and what they practice and all of that. Because the English conquestors tended to either not have a word for it or didn't particularly care, they just lumped them into the witches category. Because to them, anyone who practiced magic was inherently going to hell.
Yeah, and a threat to the church.
Yes, so they would immediately like turn the community against the person. And this is just a fun, quick aside that disbelief in witchcraft hindered medicinal advancements, or like belief in witchcraft. Uh, it's a combination of both. So basically, there was people who would not take certain cures from witches. It's fitting to mention that witches practiced something more akin to herbal medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So like willow bark having acetaminophen in it, using aloe for burns, lavender to soothe certain things, chamomile, like honey, any of that in any different sort of arrangement can like help certain low level afflictions.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but then like tuberculosis happened and people were like, "Hey, go to a doctor," and they were like, "No, we need to go on a witch hunt because this disease is caused by witchcraft, and as soon as we kill whoever afflicted me with it, I'll get better." And then they didn't. Uh,
Now, now that is bonkers.
yeah, this was like a very, very common thing that happened. Because if they couldn't identify the disease, they were like, "Oh, a witch did it. Now we gotta throw down."
Yeah,
Uh,
that one's a witch. How do you know?
it
Well,
was
I've never seen it before. So that one's a witch.
Yeah, it was tuberculosis, leprosy,
Mm,
epilepsy was
of
another one,
course. Yeah.
and a certain type of bacterial ulcer.
Okay, well, I didn't want to bring this up, but
Okay.
it keeps coming up, right?
Yeah. What's up?
Was Jesus a witch? Do you think?
I
Because he cured
I
leprosy.
yeah. I don't feel qualified enough to talk about that. I don't feel like I know enough about religion or witchcraft to give an opinion on whether or not
You know what? That's for
Jesus
the
was a
best.
witch.
It's probably for the best.
I feel like
I feel
I
like probably not, but you know what? It just, it makes
I
sense.
I mean, I'm not gonna argue on whether or not it makes sense. I'm just gonna say that I don't feel qualified to have an opinion, regardless.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Hey, you want to hear a fun fact?
Yeah, I'm totally down for fun facts. Love fun facts. They're fun.
uh, they are fun.
It's in their nature.
It is in their nature. Okay. So you remember last week when we talked about werewolves, or I think it was 2 weeks actually, where we talked about the older interpretations of werewolves,
Yeah.
right? And how they would put a wolf on the stand?
Yes, they did that.
Uh, but how werewolves were viewed to be a variant of witches, so they would also put witches on the stand?
Yes.
Magic used to be, like, completely illegal. Like,
Completely illegal.
illegal. Like, could arrest you illegal. That's what witch trials were. Because at first I was kind of like, a witch trial was something more akin to, oh, we thought someone did a thing, so we sent a whole bunch of people after them. But no, turns out there's like a guideline to this shit.
Interesting. See, I don't know. It's kind of a little bit of an interesting like thing whenever you hear about like I guess witchcraft arrests because like
Yeah.
fuck man, what are you doing?
What did they
Like
do?
I feel like it's hard to gain any sort of evidence or anything that would hold up in a court of law.
You want to hear how you could do it? Because I can tell you.
Yes.
So there's 4 general categories of like accusations for witchcraft. The first is that the person was actively caught in the act of positive or negative sorcery, which is like, we walked in and she just had a whole bunch of runes around and there was a pot on, so we've assumed she's
So
a
that's
witch.
like electrons and neutrons and okay.
Yeah. I just got that.
Positive or negative sorcery.
Good lord. Number 2 is a well-meaning sorcerer or healer lost their clients or the authorities' trust.
Ah.
3, a person did nothing more than gain the enmity of their neighbors. Yeah, that's the most interesting
I
one.
love the one about
And
the trust,
4,
though. I want to take a second to talk about that.
Oh, sure.
Because, like, how do you lose, like, it's, we healed him bad. Alright?
It's literally
I can
like
never
we healed
trust you again. And you're a witch.
I think the main thing was if a spell didn't work properly.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you promised somebody you were going to give them a painkiller and then it didn't work as well as they thought it should, then they'll be like, oh.
And that seems subjective.
It is subjective. Most of this is subjective. What part of this isn't?
I mean,
Like,
more than you'd expect from a legal system.
This is a medieval legal system. The doctors had guns.
I'm not entirely sure about that. But, you know what? I feel like, yeah, the medieval system was like, if enough people yell at you, we'll put you in a guillotine.
Yeah, that's France.
Yeah, that's France. That's France in a nutshell.
That's France.
That's still France today. What am I fucking talking about?
They outlawed the guillotine, didn't they?
Yes.
So, you can't quite do that one anymore then, huh?
Yeah, that seems like, I don't know. That seems like politicians just covering their asses.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Fun fact, there's a Pokemon move that's called Guillotine, right? I thought it was pronounced Gluttonine for a good long bit.
Oh, man.
Until I heard someone pronounce it.
I mean, that kind of makes sense,
This is why I can't have nice things because of this. I'm doing my best.
I mean, what was it last week?
But French pronunciation eludes me greatly.
I feel like there's one every week,
Yeah, I have to fuck it up at least once. I feel like I have a reputation at this point.
It's alright. We-
I'm well read. We'll go with that.
You're well read, but you've never actually
Uh-huh.
heard some of these words.
No, of course not. Who's gonna say them to me?
Me, I guess.
Oh, that's valid. That's a good point.
Fuck, now I gotta
But
read
like,
more.
I mean, like these are all subjective. The third one is just the person did nothing more than just piss people off a little bit.
Now that's back to the
And
tried and true
like,
French rule. If enough people yell at you, you're in trouble.
yeah, and the fourth one is just the person had a reputation of being a witch and was surrounded with an aura of witch beliefs or occultism, which basically just means they had a house that had rocks in it, so we yelled at them. Like,
You had rocks in your home?
in your home? Because, like, okay, so then there are these reasons of witchcraft, right? And these are all the different ways that people could, like, be accused of being a witch, or, like, how the accusation sort of fell,
Yeah,
I guess.
okay.
And
I'm
then,
upset about this. Like, these seem nonsensical. I want to know who's the rat bastard who came up with this.
well, technically, it's there is well, a folklorist
Oh, a
actually sort of
folklorist.
divided these up for the convenience of modern day. Uh, Eva Pokes, I think.
Okay.
Uh, she's a Hungarian ethnographer and a folklorist, but she sort of divided these up.
Well,
Where she's like, here are the reasons people were accused for witchcraft. And then there were three varieties of witch that she also sort of was able to identify, which was like your neighborhood witch or your social witch, who is a witch who curses a neighbor following some conflict.
now she's just a
Which
folklorist,
really,
so I'm not going to put the onus on her.
no, I'm
Yeah,
not. Like, she's
I've
just going
definitely
back
not.
and looking at why people did these.
Well, whoever decided this was a thing.
I am gonna unpack really quick the social witch.
Yeah, I do enjoy
Because
this.
that's just the HOA. Uh,
That's a neighborhood watch.
that's a that's a that's the zoning board. Like,
We didn't. Fuck, dude, it's PTA.
it's the PTA. Like,
All of our suburban Ohio
just,
knowledge is coming in clutch right now.
it is. That's all it
Oh
is.
my god.
It's just like that's what it is. That's like somebody planted begonias and I hate them, so fuck them. I'm gonna try to curse them. Like, that's fine, I guess.
Why does
Shit.
this sound like
Then
such a like suburban American thing to do?
Because people don't change.
You know what? That's fair.
Our certain dumbass tendencies remain the same for a good long bit. We have to work really hard to not be like that. Like, there's so many neighborhood disputes that people get into. This is just, they could actually murder them if they pissed them off. We got better, so we don't murder them anymore. We just write scathing emails on message boards. Or criticize their bake sale.
Or send,
Passive aggressive letters.
I was gonna say passive aggressive memes in the group chat.
Also that, holy shit. But I'm thinking, like, the wildest shit that I think happened in my neighborhood was somebody taped a passive aggressive, like, typed up note in Comic Sans to someone else's front door. Wild. They had, like, inflatable lawn decorations, and this person deemed them tacky, so they wrote a whole letter that was kind of like, we think your display is childish and is not akin for the standards of this neighborhood. Signed, your concerned neighbors. But it was one person. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it was just one person. But that's the top variety, I guess, as the neighborhood witch or social witch. And then you get into sort of your magical or sorcerer witch, which is your professional healer, sorcerer, seer, midwife, has, through magic, increased her fortune to the perceived detriment of a neighboring household. Due to neighborly or community rivalries and the ambiguity between positive and negative magic, individuals can become labeled as witches. So basically, if the person next to you got a bigger harvest this year and you didn't, somebody in that house is a witch.
Yeah,
Like,
they did magic on all of our cool pumpkins, and our
yeah, all our
pumpkins,
cool crops.
our cool gourds did not get as engorged as theirs.
You tried so hard to fit gourd and
I
engorged.
did. I really, really went for that pun, and I don't think it paid off.
I heard it. I acknowledge it. I think it's great.
Thank you.
Uh,
It's great to
and
have your
then
puns acknowledged. It's just good.
I
It's part of the reason I do
I
this
appreciate
podcast.
puns. I appreciate. Oh, I really do like puns. I do. I think they're great. But I do have to acknowledge the last variety of witch, because I think this one is probably the best. It's the supernatural or night witch portrayed in court narratives as a demon appearing in visions or dreams. Which basically means that you had a dream about someone, which means they're a witch. Get 'em.
Dude, Night Witch? Night Witch sounds
Night
so
witch is
cool.
really fucking cool.
Fuck.
Yeah,
Night Witch.
yeah. Night witch.
It reminds me of that, fuck. The Hex Girls from Scooby Doo.
Yeah! Oh god!
I don't know why it reminded
okay.
me of that song. Top 10 Halloween songs. It must be on every Halloween playlist. If you
Truly.
don't have it, you're wrong.
Look,
That's just facts.
the Hex Girls fucking
They
slap. I'm
slapped.
gonna be
Are
real.
you kidding me? Fuck.
Do they sell Hex Girls t-shirts? Do you think I could get one?
Oh damn! I would want one. If I could
Legitimate,
get one,
hang on,
I
I'll look
want.
this up.
I want one.
Detouring podcast to find Hex Girls t-shirts. Hex Girls t-shirt. Let's go.
Man, why didn't witches just go by Hex Girls?
They do! Oh my god, they do!
They sell the t-shirts or they go by Hex Girls?
They sell the t-shirts.
That's amazing.
They're from Hot Topic, of course.
Oh, of course.
But, yeah, but you can. And also on Redbubble, too. Ooh. Yeah, okay, so there's... Wow, this is so cool. What a cool day. They have them in no sizes. I think everyone bought the Hex Girls t-shirts.
Because they fucking
before Halloween.
slap. Anyway, why didn't witches go by Hex Girls? It's much more marketable.
I think it's because, witchcraft, everyone knew was a sin, and these people, the church wanted a reason to be mad at certain people, so they just labeled them as witches.
But hear me out.
I don't really think they got a
The
say.
church comes up to them.
Yes.
They're like, "You're a witch," and they're like, "No, I'm a hex girl."
I'm a Hex Girl. Oh, God. Oh, my God. I love that.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. What are they gonna do? They don't know shit. Yeah. Oh, my God.
A loophole in the system.
You loophole in the system. Shit. I mean, like, most of these sort of witch accusations are just sort of the result of societal tensions, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like breaking of a societal norm, didn't return a borrowed item, like any person not part of the normal social exchange fell under suspicion. Was pretty much how that went. So, all in all, this was generally used to sort of
alienate people.
Yeah, very much so. However, yeah, so they would just sort of outlaw a lot of it, and they used it to basically further alienate and, to a certain extent, get rid of people who they didn't like.
Yeah.
But this is about to get a little more bonkers, and I need you to follow me through this.
I'm following.
There were 4 types of magic that you can mainly divide it into. You have spellcasting, necromancy, which isn't what you'd think, demonology, and white witches. So, we talked about spellcasting a little earlier, where that's like your potions, your ritual actions,
You know, normal witch
like
stuff.
runes, sigils, incantations, physical rituals, herbs, potions, all
Yeah,
that.
like I said,
Uh,
normal witch
necro,
stuff.
yeah, normal witch stuff. Necromancy is conjuring the spirits of the dead specifically for divination or prophecy. So basically, saying your dead grandfather thinks she's a bitch. That's pretty much how that works. Um,
Yeah, honestly, this is something that I equated to witchcraft because of that movie Stardust.
oh,
Uh, I don't know if you've seen Stardust.
I have not, but what is
Oh,
it?
this movie fucks. Anyway, it's a movie about this. There's a wall, and this guy goes through it, and there's a whole nother world that's magical and cool. And there's these three witches, and they're like, we're gonna have this star, and we're gonna kill her and eat her so we can gain eternal life. And then there's this one
Hmm.
boy, and he's like, I'll retrieve the star for you. And then he's like, actually, this star is kind of hot. And then, yep, they become the king and queen of the world forever because the star's
Yeah,
heart gives them eternal life. Blah 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 blah. It's a cool, it's a dopey romantic story, but it's really fun and adventurous. Plenty of
yeah.
sword
It is
duels.
a
There's a gay pirate. It's
hell
so
yeah.
good.
Uh oh, it's based off of a Neil Gaiman
Yeah, it is. It's
novel.
so good.
Oh fuck yeah, I'll go read the book. Hell
It's
yeah.
so good. Watch the movie too. It's a romp. Anyway, there's some witches
I'll
in
watch the
there, and
movie
they
too.
do necromantic divination. They
Yeah.
just like cut up
Okay. I
animals that are dead. And they're like science.
science. Uh, and then you get to yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much what necromancy is. In
Yeah,
this
cool.
sense, you don't
Things I learned from
conjure the
movies.
dead to. Nice. Uh, so that's how that shakes out. With white witches, you get sort of your wise folk, your like quote unquote good witches, divine healers, things like that. Um, and then you get to the most interesting one, personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about demonology.
Demonology.
Uh, yes.
Hold on, that shit
So
slaps.
because yeah, and it gets so much cooler. So because witchcraft was equated, or yeah, Bible says witchcraft bad.
Yeah, and all bad is related to
Uh,
Satan, the demon.
and all bad is relating to Satan the demon. Sorcery was associated with like hearsay and generally like not following religion, and uh, so the secular leadership sort of encouraged these witch hunts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So basically, there was this huge height in the 15th century where there was like this huge spike in like terror and witchcraft and witches are gonna get you, and what happened was the Malleus Maleficarum was written, and I know that pronunciation is right because I had it double checked. Uh,
Now that's Latin,
but it
so
is
I
Latin.
don't
It
know
is
if the
Latin for
pronunciation.
hammer of the witches.
It's Latin for a. Can you give me one more time?
Latin for hammer of the witches.
Now, is this a cool hammer that witches use, or is this a cool hammer to be
Uh,
used on witches?
it is a witch hunting manual.
So it's not a hammer.
No.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm
It
a
is sort
little
of.
disappointed.
I'm a little disappointed, but it's a witch hunting manual that was written in 1486 by two German monks,
Munch.
Heinrich Munch monks, monks, Heinrich Kramer and Jacob Sprenger. It was used by both Catholics and Protestants for a few hundred years, and it sort of went through and identified like how to identify or outlined how to identify a witch, why a woman is more likely than a man to be a witch, how to put a witch on trial, how to punish a witch. So most of our sort of modern day interpretation of a witch comes from this book. It defines a witch as evil, typically female, and it became the handbook for secular courts throughout Renaissance Europe, but was not used by the Spanish Inquisition,
No one expects the
which
Spanish
cautioned.
Inquisition. I certainly didn't. Wait, what
No,
the fuck?
they didn't use it because they cautioned people against relying on the work. They were like, yo, this is too bonkers for the Spanish Inquisition, and they didn't use it.
Maybe they were like, it's not bonkers enough. Like, this doesn't thoroughly identify all the witches you could encounter.
No, it was too bonkers.
Oh.
Do you know how I know?
Yeah, shoot.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about this. So, the Malleus Maleficarum was written by a Catholic clergyman, who I mentioned before. It was Heinrich Kramer, who wrote it in a German city. And before this, he was sort of, he was like a high-ranking, like sort of religious figure in this area.
Okay.
And he, at first, in like 1484, made like the first attempt to prosecute an alleged witch, right?
Right.
So he's like, okay, I found a witch, like, we're gonna see if we can do this. And basically, he was yeeted out of the city, or expelled, or exiled, or whatever you want to say, but I like yeeted.
Yeah, yote.
Yeeted out of the city.
For past tense.
And dismissed by the local bishop as being senile and crazy.
Love that for
And so,
everything.
He wrote this book as an act of self-justification and blatant revenge.
So, can I ask, is demonology a form of witchcraft, or is it like the study of hunting and killing witches?
It is technically a form of witchcraft because this identifies, this is like witches are basically a demon and therefore can get other demons. So this is basically like, the other two sort of, spellcasting and necromancy tend to be like, spellcasting, necromancy, and white witches are things that people could actively identify and be like, okay,
Yeah, that's a thing that you're doing. Like,
that's a thing that you're doing. Necromancy was kind of something that they didn't like, but they would be more okay with, because all of that.
mm-hmm.
And, demonology was sort of the study, I guess. It's not like the study of witches, but it's basically like outsiders of witchcraft looking at witchcraft being like, they are demons, so therefore they know how demons work, if this makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's sort of like the belief that witches are demons and therefore know about
It's
demons.
kind of like a reclassification of witches. Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
Alright.
It's basically implying that witches, by definition, study demons, and so we can study them like demons.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. This book, the Malleus Maleficarum, is a absolute fucking mess. So basically this guy attempted to, he attempted to prosecute a witch for the first time. He was called crazy, and thrown out.
Yote.
Yote.
The past tense of yeet.
And the past tense of yeet. It includes, like, descriptions of incubi.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because basically, some of the reason why the book thought that women were more likely to become witches were that they were more evilly tempted, or like more easily tempted, and could be seduced by the devil in dreams and visions, by like incubi or things along those lines.
Okay.
I'm not gonna unpack.
Yeah,
all of that,
that's a lot going on.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
The more important thing is that this guy was so angry that he was dismissed that he wrote this book refuting arguments claiming that witchcraft did not exist, discredited those who expressed skepticism about its reality. He was the one who said that women were more often witches than men, so this was on Kramer for this.
Hey, fuck Kramer.
Basically,
from Friends, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He was...
Just agreed to that. I don't even know if you heard what I said.
From Friends?
I don't even know if Kramer was on Friends.
I've never seen Friends. I don't think so.
Man, I don't know. He's a character from TV.
I don't know.
He's named Kramer.
Oh, God. Uh, but basically, this book is just a mess. It is a disaster. It inspired witch hunts. It recommended torture and burning at the stake, and encouraging like the same treatment of heretics uh, for witches,
Ah,
because heretics were treated terribly. Uh, it suggests torture and for into obtaining witch confessions, and like the death penalty is the only certain remedy against the evils of witchcraft.
wow. Okay, so this
Yeah,
is where
but
all the bad shit on witches came from. He wrote the
it
book.
all
This is the
comes
rat
from
bastard.
this book. This is the rat
We got him,
bastard.
folks.
Uh, but do you know how I know this was too bonkers for the
Yeah,
Inquisition?
spell it out for me.
The top theologists at the Inquisition at the faculty of Cologne,
I don't know. It's Spanish. I don't speak Spanish.
condemned. Yeah, I think it's Cologne. Condemned the book as recommending unethical and illegal procedures, as well as being inconsistent with Catholic doctrines of demonology. Like, literally, the Inquisition looked at this, said, that's a bit much for us, and moved on.
That's a bit too much, folks.
Yeah, because this guy was such a disaster. So, Jacob Sprenger's name was added a little later, because I mentioned that two people wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, um, he was added as an author beginning in 1519, 33 years after the first publication, and 24 years after his death. So it's been like sort of questioned by historians, but Kramer wrote it following his expulsion, and he was also charged with like a few counts of illegal behavior, and because he was weirdly obsessed with one of the accused's habits.
Oh?
Um, yeah, he was sexist and terrible.
Yeah. No, he sounds like
Um,
it. I mean, that comes across
which
in
is
the
good.
everything.
I need you to know that it's a thing, because it's just so bad, all of it, and it's messy and awful, but very fascinating to read about.
Yeah.
Just because sort of he was so bonkers that he was able to get everyone else on his level of bonkers.
All right. Well, why don't you give us a happy thing about witches before we end the episode?
I'd love to. So a lot of the times, I think I mentioned this earlier, that witches had a stronger understanding of like herbal medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So they would be sort of a fixture in their community as the resident like doctor, I guess. They would be the person who you would go to if you needed like a midwife, or someone to just take care of like a child with colic, or something that you can treat with like low levels of herbal medicine, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. They were basically a strong fixture in their community for keeping it together. Just
That's
because,
awesome.
like,
You know what?
yeah,
I didn't deserve the bad rep. Witches are cool.
they really, really didn't.
All right. Well, I think with that, it is time to wrap up the episode. Remember to
Yeah,
support your local witch, and as
please.
much as you support them, don't not go to the doctor, because medicine, as scary as it was, has figured its
Has
shit out
gotten better.
a lot.
Yeah.
You know, when we do episodes like this, we always want to kind of mention, that because we are
Yeah.
definitely not
Yeah.
recommending this over, modern and
No.
medicine. We know it works. It's worked for most people.
You can treat certain sore throats with some honey and lemon tea, but go to a doctor if you have strep.
Yes.
Like,
No, you're definitely going to need antibiotics for that. And you know what?
Yeah.
Doctors kind of figured that out. So,
yeah,
leaps and bounds better.
tons of jumps.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this cool, spooky Halloween detour through witches and folklore. And if you want to support the podcast, there's a ton of ways you can do it. Marty, what's a few ways that
Well,
you
a
can do
few ways are you could support us on Instagram, Twitter, or on our Twitch channel. We do a stream every Thursday from 8:30 to 10:30. And
We're not starting at 10:30.
yeah,
no.
no, it starts at 8:30, ends at 10:30. And it's a
Yeah.
blast. We get to hang out with you guys. If you guys have questions about the episode, you can come out and ask them there. It's just a really good time.
Yeah.
So,
And we host that on the Midcast channel, spelled TheMydCast.
yeah.
Uh,
And you
yeah,
can find us
we
on
like to hang
Twitter
out there.
at OnCryptids. Again, that is at OnCryptids. And all of the links for all of this are in the description of the episode. So go ahead and check us out there. And yeah.
Yeah, we do love hearing back from you guys and sort of interacting with you guys on any of our social media platforms. So it's always a good time to uh, see you guys at any time.
Yeah. But
It's an early recording.
until next week, we'll see y'all in the woods.
woods.
And happy Halloween!